We're your trusted team. Facts we can't ignore, bringing you much more. Breaking news, HQ, always here for you. Trust the word we share, news beyond compare. Breaking news right now, turn the volume loud. Headlines top the charts, we inform your hearts. Breaking news, HQ, always here for you. Trust the word we share, news beyond compare. Every story counts, watch the views amount. Breaking news, HQ, always here for you. Trust the word we share, news beyond compare. In the fast-paced stream, we're your trusted team. Facts we can't ignore, bringing you much more. Breaking news, HQ, always here for you. Trust the word we share, news beyond compare.
Good evening, everybody. This is Tony. I'm coming in to do an update on Hurricane Milton. We are currently watching Hurricane Milton. We are in the process of moving, so we weren't able to do a live update, but I wanted to do a video for everyone so you can kind of keep everybody abreast of what's going on, and we'll come on live as much as possible with this storm. We'll talk about when it's supposed to arrive, but we appreciate everybody being here, and we love all our fans, and we thank you for being here, and hopefully we can help you get through this storm, and we'll do it together and keep everybody safe and have as little loss of life as we possibly can. So we're going to start off. This is Hurricane Milton. You can see on the radar here, it's currently as of 10 o'clock. The Hurricane Center did with the Hurricane Hunter airplanes when it went through it. It was a Category 1 hurricane still, with sustained winds of 90 miles per hour. You can see kind of the track here of where it's supposed to go. It's supposed to rapidly intensify tomorrow. During the day, it's supposed to go to a 3 and to a 4 by tomorrow afternoon. So you can see on this radar what the kind of the track is of it. This is a major hurricane, and this is very unusual for a hurricane to form in this area over near Mexico. Not only this time of year, but ever. There's never been a hurricane, I guess, that's formed in this area and gone this path. So this is a very unusual hurricane. It's not as big as Hurricane Helene, but it is going to be strong. A strong storm. So, and it is going to rapidly intensify tomorrow. And we'll talk about a little bit about when they're expecting it to arrive here shortly. But you can see they're talking about by tomorrow afternoon about 2 p.m. Wednesday afternoon by 2 p.m. they're expecting it to have 138 miles per hour winds with as a Category 4 hurricane. We'll talk a little bit about this, showing it hitting Tampa area, the Tampa area around Tampa as a Category 3. We'll talk about that in just a minute, whether that's the case or not. But we'll have some what ifs and what could happen in that case. But here you can see kind of what's going on with it right now, where it's located at. As it's about midnight, about 12:30 early Monday morning when we're doing this update. So you can see on radar where it's kind of sitting at right now. So this hurricane is, again, it's going to be a strong hurricane. We can see they've had rain all day today in Tampa. So we can see on the radar here kind of what's going on right now. This is tonight, like I said, it's about 12:30 a.m. early Monday morning. But you can see they've had rainfall and around Florida all day today with storms and stuff like that. So nothing major, but it's definitely something worth talking about. That the ground's still saturated from when Hurricane Helene came through the same area. So it is, the rainfall ahead of this hurricane is not going to help the situation at all. As we'll talk about the flooding and stuff that's coming with this hurricane.
And I'm sorry, I'm sure you'll mention it as well, is making comparisons to what we saw with Helene. I'd say 24 to 36 hours before it made landfall, we weren't just tracking the hurricane, we were watching from the southeast all the way up to the east coast and into the Midwest, a lot of tornado activity. And they were popping up real quick without hardly any warning. I mean, just like a few minutes warning. And now with the storms, I wonder if we're going to see, again, an increase in storm activity or tornado activity.
I'm sure that's pretty common with hurricanes, with the different bands of storms as they come swirl through. In this case, Florida, you'll see tornado warnings throughout the state of Florida. And they'll impact different counties. So we'll watch that. As right now they're saying, we'll show the arrival map here in a second, but they're saying late Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning as of the 10 p.m. alert tonight on Sunday night 10 p.m. That's what the National Hurricane Center is projecting. We'll see if that changes or not, but that is currently what they're projecting for an arrival time, is late Tuesday night. Early Wednesday morning, around an area around Tampa Bay area. They think that it should come in around Tampa Bay, but if it is possible, it could go as far south as Cape Coral and a little bit farther north in Tampa too. So we'll look at the cone of uncertainty here in a second as well.
A lot of schools already closed for the entire week.
Right, they've already closing schools in Florida, and we'll show you a video from the Emergency Management Division of Florida that they did earlier today, or earlier Sunday afternoon, about the evacuation. This is the largest evacuation they've done in Florida. Approximately 17,000 people are expected to evacuate or being asked to evacuate. It's the largest evacuation they've done since Hurricane Irma back in 2018. So this is a major hurricane, and the state of Florida is already kind of sketched out by it, and you can tell by the way they're acting with the evacuations and shutting schools down.
And there's already so much debris everywhere. That's been a major issue with DeSantis, is he wants the landfills open 24 hours a day and trucks constantly going and coming with all this debris. I think he's trying to get the debris cleaned up and in a landfill before this hurricane comes through.
Right.
And whips all that debris.
There's still hurricane debris. As you know, this area was impacted up around Cedar Key and through Tampa with storm surge and winds and stuff from Hurricane Helene a couple weeks ago. So, a major hurricane coming through, they're still trying to clean up the remnants of the storm when Helene came through, of all the stuff, all the sand, all the mud, all the debris and stuff. They're working now. Why they haven't been doing this before now, I don't know. But as of today, on Sunday, they started doing a 24 hours a day cleanup before Milton gets there to try to prepare so we don't have extra stuff flying around when the storm arrives. So let's look at the spaghetti model that you see. This is from the 10 p.m. update from the Hurricane Center, and you can see that the cone of uncertainty will be based upon this, but you can see that center line takes it in around the Tampa Bay area. So here we have, I'll put up, this is the latest 10 p.m. Sunday night update from the Hurricane Center on Hurricane Milton. It's forecast to be a major hurricane when it reaches the west coast of Florida Peninsula by midweek. People are reminded to not focus on the details of the forecast, or there remains a significant uncertainty in the eventual track. And you can see the cone of uncertainty, and I'll zoom in on that here in just a second. While it's too soon to specify the exact magnitude and location of the greatest impacts, there is an increasing risk of life-threatening storm surge and damaging winds. Proportion of west coast of the Florida Peninsula begin early Wednesday, and storm surge in Hurricane Florida Peninsula should follow any advice given them by local officials and monitor updates. Areas of heavy rainfall impact portions of Florida Monday, well ahead of Milton, with heavy rainfall more directly related to the system expected later on Tuesday through Wednesday night. Rainfall brings the risk of considerable flash, urban, and aerial flooding, along the potential of the moderate major river flooding. Tropical storm conditions are expected with hurricane conditions possible beginning Monday across portions of the northern Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, where tropical storm warning and hurricane watch are currently in effect. So that's the latest 10 p.m. Sunday night, October 6th, Hurricane Milton update from the Hurricane Center. This is all based on the Hurricane Hunter airplane going through and what they found. They're thinking this hurricane is going to intensify, and it's going to intensify fast. So we'll look at the cone of uncertainty that was on that, but we zoomed in on it. You can kind of see where it's at now. It's just north of Mexico and the Yucatan Peninsula. It's going to get real close to tomorrow, as you see. If that's the Yucatan Peninsula on that blue line right there, it's going to possibly skirt real close to that, but not come in contact with it, even though there's a little island chain that's above that you can't really see, that has apparently, based on what we heard earlier today, one building on it that Milton's going to go across, and we don't really think that building may not be there by the time this Hurricane Milton goes
Whoever lives in that one building better batten down the bitches.
Yeah, batten down the hatches.
Shit, that's what it is.
So you can see the path, the cone of uncertainty. It goes fairly far north up near Cedar Key, and goes as far south as just above Cape Coral, right around Cape Coral, Fort Myers, that area there. So that's the cone of uncertainty. And of course, as you know, if you've dealt with hurricanes before, like I have, it'll get this cone of uncertainty gets narrow and narrow as it gets closer to Florida. So let's look at what they're estimating on the arrival time. This may change. They're thinking, everything I've heard, this is based on their 10 p.m. update, but is that they think it's going to make landfall sometime early Wednesday morning. But I don't know why this shows it Tuesday night 8 p.m. But we'll go with that. But everything they're saying is an early Wednesday morning arrival near the Tampa Bay area. But this is what they put out with that alert at 10 p.m. on Sunday. So that kind of give you an idea of what they're saying right now. So probable wind speeds, you can see here we have our wind speed map. They're thinking that it's going to make landfall around Tampa Bay or whatever area it lands in with sustained winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour. Now, the reason that's important is, as I showed you windy earlier, there seems to be some disagreement of what strength it's going to be when it hits the coast of Florida. There are wind shears, upper wind shears, that could come into play here, but there's no guarantee that they'll come into play when it gets close to the coast of Florida. The jet stream is going just below Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia. So the jet stream is kind of steering it to where it's going, of course. But then you have upper air wind streams, or upper air wind shear. Sorry, that's what I like to say. That can start tearing down the storm a little bit when it gets close to the state, but there's no guarantee that's going to happen. They're saying it may, but it may not. So it's going to become a Category 4, and it may have the wind shears, may make it a Category 3 before it hits. But we'll know as the days get closer of it making arrival what's going to happen with it. But right now, they're thinking it's going to get strengthened to a Category 3 and 4, 3 or 4 till on tomorrow and Tuesday, and then by the time it reaches Florida's coast, they think it's going to be a Category 3. But there's also rumors that are being said that, if those wind shears don't play a role in it, it could be a Category 4 or even a Category 5 when it hits that area. So, yeah, either way, whether it's Category 3 or Category 5, it's a major storm. So it's nothing to be played with. So let's talk about rainfall. Here you see some of the estimated rainfalls that are expected with these storms. It's already saturated with lots of water and rain and storm surge from Hurricane Irma. Well, you're going to add the already saturated ground that hasn't even had a chance to dry up. You add all this rainfall in, and then more storm surge with this storm, and that you can expect flooding. But as far as rainfall, they're talking looks like between 8 to 12 inches of rain around the Tampa Bay area. If that's where it lands, wherever it lands, that's where you'll have the highest rainfall. But even out from that, you can see they're expecting, even down to Cape Coral and Fort Myers and areas like that, 6 to 8 inches of rain. So this is going to be a big rain producer. So an already saturated area. So it's not going to be, that usually doesn't lead to a good thing whenever you already have an already saturated ground. Then you dump a whole downpours of rain on top of it, and then get a storm surge that they're estimating that we'll look at in just a second. It's 10 to 15 foot again, so which is very similar to the storm surge that was seen in the Tampa Bay area from Hurricane Irma. So here we have from the National Hurricane Center. These are the areas with of most likely to see flooding. Again, you see around the Tampa area where they're thinking the storm's going to land. Of course, is the highest chance of flooding. So we can see that here. So let's talk about the storm surge like we were just talking about. Here you can see what they're talking about with the colors on here. This is the Tampa Bay area right in here. You can see they're thinking storm surge greater than 9 feet above ground, but the numbers that they're actually putting on is 10 to 15 feet of storm surge in that area if it comes into this Tampa Bay area. So what happens if it comes into Tampa Bay? The water, since it's a bay, you can see it's kind of locked in. You have all that water in there, and when the storm surge comes in there, it doesn't come back out as quickly because it is a bay. You got this land it narrows that bay out into the Gulf and makes it to it's almost like a funnel. So when that storm surge comes into Tampa Bay, it takes a lot longer to go back out because it has to be funneled out because it is a bay. So, a 10 to 15 foot storm surge in the Tampa Bay area will be devastating because it's going to sit there for a while, and it's going to take it a while to filter back out into the Gulf. Then you add 10 to 12 inches of rain on top of that, and if it goes in wherever this lands, it's going to be devastating. But if it lands in the Tampa Bay area and goes across that, it's going to be even worse. And from what I'm hearing, that and I'm not sure how many people are aware of it, the south side of the hurricane is always the worst. It's always the one that has the part that has the stronger winds. It's the part that always gets devastated the most. So if it goes north of Tampa Bay, it's going around Clearwater or any areas like that, or Cedar Key. It's going to even be worse for Tampa because they're going to be on the south side with the heavier winds and the worst tornado production. So, I'm not sure if it's better for it to go across Tampa or to go north of Tampa, because either way, if it goes north of it, you're still going to have the storm surge, but you're also going to have all the devastating winds and all the tornadoes that come along with it, like Allie was saying. Every time we have these hurricanes, you start seeing those tornadoes and thunderstorms and all start popping off. So we fully believe that on Wednesday, when this storm arrives, tornadoes will be very prevalent around the state of Florida. So let's look at I'm going to play a video for you. This is the oops, give me 1 second here. This is the press conference earlier today. Start over. This is a press conference earlier today from the Florida Emergency Management Division about the evacuation. So I want to give you a chance to hear them talking about the evacuation. Now, before we play this, let's talk a little bit about the evacuation. This storm is no joke. As we talked about Hurricane Helene, the storm is bad enough. The winds are horrible. If you have winds gusts are sustained at 90 miles an hour, 80, 90 miles an hour, that's bad enough with gusts and stuff. Winds are horrible. Flooding is even worse. So storm surge, flooding, all that comes in. You can't survive it. I mean, if they're telling you to evacuate, you need to evacuate. This is a very serious storm. You need to keep your eyes on the forecast. You need to do what they say, because it is going to lead to be a very, very bad storm. And storm surge and the flooding is going to be even worse than the winds. And as much as the winds already will cause problems, you throw in all the water, that makes it 100 times worse. And you just if you don't evacuate before the storm, by the time the storm surge and the flooding begins, it's too late to evacuate. So evacuate early, protect your family. If you have family members that have health problems, get them somewhere where they can be protected and they can be taken care of during the storm. You don't even have to evacuate very far. You just have to get away from the Tampa area or wherever this storm is going to make landfall. So please protect your family and heed the evacuation warnings that they're given, because they're not joking around, and neither is this storm. So let's listen to what they have to say about the evacuation of 17,000 people, and we'll be back on in just a second after this video is over.
You to evacuate. We are preparing, and I have the state emergency response team preparing for the largest evacuation that we have seen, most likely since 2017 Hurricane Irma.
Strong words there from State Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie. Counties are already warning neighbors of the danger with those evacuation orders. Manatee County says everyone in evacuation levels A and B, as well as people living in RVs or mobile homes, should leave. The evacuation order goes into effect tomorrow afternoon at 2. Now, in light of the order, the county is opening emergency shelters at Mills, Miller, and Myakka elementary schools. The county is also bringing in extra collection vehicles to speed up Hurricane Helene cleanup. Now, Hurricane Helene left so many homes flooded or uninhabitable, and as Hurricane Milton heads our way, many families are still displaced. With those families left without homes and Hurricane Milton on the horizon, we could see a rise in numbers for people heading to those emergency evacuation shelters. 10 Tampa Bay's Chris Hurst is live at Mills Elementary School in Palmetto. And Chris, you spoke with emergency officials who are now not only juggling evacuations, but also cleanup.
And that cleanup is going around the clock pretty much, Miranda, in anticipation of Milton. Now remember, during Helene, Manatee County had a Zone A evacuation. For Milton, it's now bumped up to Zones A and B. As you said, if you don't have a place to go, emergency shelters will open up tomorrow afternoon. One will be here at Mills Elementary, also Miller and Myakka Elementary. The real focus again for Manatee County is going to be on the barrier islands. Anna Maria Island was battered hard during Helene, destroying thousands of homes, including 95% of Bradenton Beach. The cleanup is still going almost around the clock, but with added urgency because this debris could be deadly in hurricane-force winds.
We've been working closely with the state of Florida to add additional debris haulers that will be assisting with debris removal in anticipation of Milton's arrival. It is very important that once the debris has been picked up in your area, you do not bring any additional debris out to the roadside.
Officials here also stress that you take the evacuation order seriously and leave. That may increase the number of people who go to these shelters, many wanting to stay in their homes during Helene. might not do the same this time around for Milton. We're also watching, Miranda, the possibility of some river flooding inland as the Myakka and Manatee rivers are still swollen from Helene. Live in Manatee County, Chris Hurst, 10 Tampa Bay.
So as you can see from that video, like we were talking about, this evacuation is serious, and I would hope everyone will heed what they're saying as far as that evacuation is being talked about. I mean, if you're in an evacuation area, please, when Monday morning hits, go ahead and start planning. This storm, we don't know exactly where it's going to hit, but it's not going to get any better no matter where it hits. So you need to take care of your family, and I ask that you please heed those evacuation warnings and take care of your family and evacuate. Don't let your pride get the best of you or your family's health. You need to take care of them and get them to a safe area. If it means leaving for a couple of days, you can replace stuff in your house. You can replace property, but you can't replace family. So the storm surge is going to be serious, and the flooding is going to be serious.
And just one thing I'd like to touch on what Tony was saying is, I mean, I myself lived in Florida. My family has a condo down in Florida that we go to, throughout the winter. And people in Florida, my friends down there, still have hurricane parties. It's common, and people in Florida are a different type of tough when it comes to hurricanes, and that's all well and good. And a lot of them know their limits, but what we're looking at is something that I don't think has really been seen before. Yes, you've had in hurricane seasons storms pretty close to each other, but usually one might be stronger, one might be a tropical storm, maybe category 1, and it's probably not gonna take the same path. We had Hurricane Helene, which caused a lot of damage, but that damage hasn't even been cleaned up yet. Some places don't even have power. So add that in, that now another one is coming that's either going to be just as strong, possibly even stronger, to an area that was almost decimated. And it's something that the people in Florida haven't really seen very often. Even the National Hurricane Center is saying this is extremely rare. Florida has not seen something like this ever. And if you think you've got time to evacuate, or you've evacuated before and hey, I can get to Louisiana in 6 hours, I can get to Georgia in 4, that's great to have those plans, but keep in mind that the places you go to, they might still be reeling from Helene. So a lot of people are trying to find hotels to go to if they don't want to necessarily leave the state, but they want to be at higher ground, and hotel rooms are taken up. Gas is going to start going out. And if you did get to some place and that storm turns, you're in trouble. If you go someplace, and remember that Georgia and Tennessee saw damage from Helene, and a lot of roads were completely wiped away. It changed the complete geography of the land. So no matter how prepared you've been, or how many times you've been through hurricanes that have been or that have been real bad, this one needs to be taken a little bit different. That's my opinion. But I think that it's going to be better to just be safe than to have regret.
Yeah, I agree with Allie. The Hurricane Helene has taken a toll on the entire southeast. And even if you're staying in Florida, there's shortages of stuff from Hurricane Helene. Then you add on top of that the port strikes we had last week, where people were freaking out and started buying up all the water and toilet paper and paper towels and stuff like that. you're risking, if you're staying and not evacuating, you're risking not being able to get anything that you need. I mean, with already shortages, there's already very little stuff to be had. Then you have everybody going for gas and water and toilet paper and paper towels and food again after Helene and the port strikes. And it's just going to make a tough time. Why take the risk? Is it really worth it? I mean, what are you going to do to protect your property from a flood and storm surge? You're going to throw yourself in front of your house? You can't stop a storm surge. I don't care how strong you are. So just don't take the risk and just let the storm pass and then come back and deal with stuff then. So I'm going to play one more video that's from at 10 o'clock update from a news station down in the Tampa area. So we'll listen to that and then we'll wrap everything up. Thank you everybody for being here, and I'll be back on after this video.
Go ahead and bring our hurricane specialist and storm surge expert Michael Lowry into this discussion. We have been watching Milton really just continue to power up.
Betty, it's been impressive what it's doing right now, and the winds haven't caught up to the organization of this, but really all systems go for this to become a mighty hurricane tomorrow. Take a look at the latest information that Betty just showed. This is nearing a category 2 hurricane, winds of 90 miles per hour, moving east at 7. We actually, Betty, saw a little bit of a nudge to the south in the track earlier today. That was a little bit of a surprise. I'll talk about that in just a minute, but it has led to a hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning for parts of the Yucatan. Category 4 hurricane over the next few days. Notice the winds, though, coming down as it gets closer to the coast, but it's going to be too little too late. This is going to be a big, powerful hurricane as it moves into the coast, the west coast of Florida. As you look at the satellite picture tonight, it's hard to see because this is a very compact hurricane. This is really sort of tightly spun together, and that's going to help it strengthen very quickly. All of that rain well ahead of Milton, not even associated with it. It's another area of low pressure from the tropical moisture ahead of it, but thankfully so far we've at least weathered that rain, but we're getting more rounds of it tomorrow, as Betty was talking about. The warmest waters that we have in the Gulf of Mexico, it's sitting over right now, so it is in a pristine environment for strengthening right now. You can see the forecast models taking this generally in the same direction here toward the west coast of Florida. The models kind of in actually pretty good agreement in terms of this coming in somewhere between, say, Crystal River to the north and Fort Myers, Naples to the south. Anywhere fair game for the most destructive part of this hurricane. Us here in Southeast Florida, we won't have to worry about the major impacts from this, just the heavy rain that could lead to, obviously some flooding in our area, but we're going to escape the heavy winds. We're going to escape certainly the storm surge, the biggest storm surge from this. But the models kind of differing, Betty, right now on when this comes ashore. We've actually seen them kind of scale back a little bit in taking this ashore later in the day or even in the evening or overnight hours on Wednesday. So a little bit of timing here to work out with this, but we have very high confidence that this is going to bring a catastrophic storm surge to parts of the west coast of Florida, anywhere from say Cedar Key southward to Naples could see the bulk of this. It's going to, in terms of the storm surge, JC and Sanella, the worst of it is going to be just south of where this comes ashore. So really the track is very important here. But as I mentioned, even though the winds may be coming down a little bit as this gets to the coast, the Hurricane Center is saying it could be a much bigger hurricane, and that can bring a bigger storm surge. So a lot of these areas, unfortunately, still have debris and cleanup going on from Helene, with another big hurricane here coming in the next few days. Back over.
You track powerful projects, tasks,
So you can see from that video, again, Hurricane Milton is no joke. So again, we thank everybody for being here. We're going to make it through this storm just like we did through Helene together. We'll come live whenever we're able to come live, or put videos up if we can't do live. But we thank you everybody for being here. Again, everybody stay safe, protect yourselves and your family. And we look forward to coming back on and keeping you updated with information about this about this storm as soon as stuff happens. We'll try to do a video in the morning for an update, but we'll do the best we can. Again, thank you for joining Breaking News HQ. This is Tony, and Allie's here with me. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Stay safe.
Breaking news right now. Turn the volume loud. Headlines top the charts. We inform your hearts. Breaking news HQ, always here for you. Trust the word we share. News beyond compare. Stories fresh and bright, bringing truth to light. Every story counts. Watch the views amount. Breaking news HQ, always here for you. Trust the word we share. News beyond compare. In the fast-paced stream, we're your trusted team. Facts we can't ignore, bringing you much more. Breaking news HQ, always here for you.